Hi, and welcome to Drones Down Under podcast. My name is Sean.
And I'm Danny. Lovely to see you again, Sean.
You too, Danny. You too.
Looks like you have a new toy to talk about today.
I'm glad you noticed this little thing above my shoulder. So, yeah, I've got a little, very small. So, yeah, the DJI M350, which is what we're here to talk about. So, we thought we'll cover off the main sort of differences between the M350 RTK and the M300 RTK. So, obviously, we've got that with us. We do a lot of flights with the 300. And I guess it'll be pretty cool to see what's sort of the main key differences between the two. So we divide into three categories. That's what we're going to cover off today. So improved safety, new control experience, and the improved battery system and accessories. So let's get on with improved safety. So Danny, what do we got?
Right, straight off the bat, there's the new IP rating of IP55. Beats the M300's IP rating of IP45, which is more just a better dust proofing. So when you're taking off those construction sites, there's a little bit less dust getting inside the drone.
Yeah, and into those vents.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think any improved IP rating is much better than what we've got. So, and honestly, I think that the 300 did pretty well. I've been in some scenarios where I have been caught out in rain when I thought I could actually get away with it and haven't.
Just push that a little bit longer than you need.
A little bit longer than we should.
We've all done it.
Yep. So I think the 55 is pretty cool. And then we've got the FPV camera, which is on the front. So that's got better better night vision. So the camera.
Why would you need better night vision though?
Well, again, I think the camera is 960p as opposed to 1080, and I guess for most of the stuff we're flying, I think it's good to kind of get for us, under our regulations, we're not supposed to be flying at night unless you've actually familiarized yourself with the area during daytime or dusk. So, yeah, I don't know where I would get benefit from it. I might put the question back to you. What are your thoughts where we would use it?
I think mainly it'd be good for search and rescue, I guess. If anyone's using the H20N or the H20T, while that camera is looking for, say, a missing person or a missing pet or whatever it may be at night, the pilot can still fly and have pretty good night vision. And from what I've seen on the DJI website, there's a pretty usable difference.
Well, we'll do some testing with it, obviously, and we'll definitely highlight the two. We've got both drones available to us, so we can definitely show that at nighttime, see what the difference is.
Such a high roll.
Yeah. Well, I guess as you've highlighted, we didn't really refer to the FPV camera at night unless you're looking at any of the instruments at night. But yeah, at night it's dark, so it'd be interesting to see how much improved night vision it's actually got on it.
Yeah.
What's the next one, Danny?
From what DJI is saying, it's got enhanced GNSS and RTK. So where would that help you out, Sean?
Well, definitely if you're running, say, construction mission mapping projects, that improved accuracy, everything matters, as you well know, and getting that connectivity between the drone and the base station will matter as well. So rather than perhaps if you're between a structure of some sort, as we know, you can have that connectivity drop off. So you might have, say, 40 satellites might dropping off to 34, which is fine for connectivity, but that's obviously going to reduce that accuracy as well. So the more connectivity you can have, we're going to get a much better outcome and reduce that sort of post-processing effort that's needed.
So what you're saying is the more satellites, the better, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Why did you ask me the question then?
got to keep you on your toes. I guess another one of the features worth talking about is the arm locking detection, where the pilot knows with their pre-flight checks. Me personally, I check those arms are locked at least 3 times before taking off. Now I only have to check them once extra.
Well, yeah, I think we don't want to get lazy with our pre-flights, right? Because it clearly is not carried out onto other drones yet, but I'm sure they'll have something come out in the new range. Yeah, so I guess what we're talking about, that arm lock detection, which wasn't there in the 300, which is now in the 350, which is pretty cool because, like you said, I mean, we tend to have two of us check it. If we got two of us on site, always get the second person to check those arms, because especially, as you know, if you've had a long day, you can be a bit lethargic on checking some of these things.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool feature. That one's definitely something welcomed by us, I'm sure.
It is. It is. And I also see the remote's been upgraded now. So the M350 is compatible with the RC Plus, which is from the M30 and the Inspire 3 now as well.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a different episode to prove, because I haven't seen anybody actually use it yet myself. I'm not sure about you, Danny. So I think it'll be important to kind of see the 300 with the RC Plus and whether we can actually go back to using that controller with the M350.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's going to be a worthy upgrade, almost like when we went from flying with our remotes with our phones attached, that you don't really want to go back to a smaller screen anymore.
no, it is I mean, we've all used it with the M30, right? Of course, it's an awesome screen. It's been around for about a year, I think, from memory. So, and I'm pretty sure that the nits is much brighter than the RC Pro. And like you said, it's a much bigger screen, but definitely heavier. Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to. I'm quite keen to see connecting the RC Plus with the M300 and then pairing it back to the 350. What does that process look like? Because a lot of us in the field using 300s are very likely to purchase a 350, and you probably want to be using the RC Plus controller for both.
Yeah,
right? Like you said, you're not going to go back and use the RC Pro if you're using a Plus.
That's the downside. It's quality of life. You don't want to be going back to an older style remote.
Yeah.
Better brightness for, obviously, most of the time we're operating middle of the day. If we're doing, say, warehouse work or telco work or anything, you need to see that screen. And if it's got 1200 nits versus the 1000 nits of the smart controller, it's just, it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So it's a good point you raised. So going into that new control experience, as you've already highlighted, the RC Plus compared to the RC Pro. So some of I guess the RC Pro, there is no IP rating, which is now been improved with the RC Plus with an IP54 rating, which is very close to the M350 of IP55. And battery life, we've got 6 hours on the controller. And obviously you've got the WB37 battery, a 7-inch screen with 1200 nit brightness. And as you already said, it's compatible with the 300 as well. So
I also saw that there's a lot more customizable buttons on it as well.
There are lots on there.
Compared to the M300s, I think C1 and C2 plus the D-pad, there's a lot more you can do with this one. If you want to change your shutter speed on the fly or anything, you hold down a button and move your rocker wheel. There's your shutter speed or aperture changed. It just makes a lot more sense now.
And it'll be interesting to see whether you can customize those buttons based on the payload. So I haven't looked into it, and you may know more than I do, but yeah, that's something. Yeah, if you're changing it, like you said, from say a P1 to a H20T or a H20, can you customize those buttons based on the payload? Because they obviously got different functions. So
awesome.
And there are a lot of buttons, as you highlighted. So and what's the next one from a control experience, Danny?
It's got an extra 2 receivers built in, from what I hear. So instead of just the 2, it's now 4. Is that
pretty cool?
Right. Better up and down link, really.
Well, it probably goes to, like you highlighted already, that whole it's all about that improved connectivity back to base, now connectivity between the controller and drone as well, and increased range, right? So we've got much longer range as well,
which will be awesome for BV loss operations, or the search and rescues that need to daisy chain their operation from to EV loss operations.
Yeah, so we've gone from 15-kilometer range through to 20-kilometer range.
It's pretty epic when you think about it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
at least 3 hours of Sydney traffic.
Yeah.
I guess, Sean, so what are some of the other upgrades? Say, like, the battery systems. They've been upgraded in the M350, haven't they?
Yeah, so obviously now we've got a new charging station. So the previous one was the BS60, which now we've got a new BS65 case. And that's got more sort of charging modes, which we'll cover off, like we said, with a more detailed episode on the controller. And we'll do a detailed episode on the battery station as well, on the BS65.
Awesome. Along with
And
the batteries, the battery charge cycles have been upgraded by the sound of it as well, from 200 to now 400 cycles.
yep, yep.
Where would we where do we cash in on that essentially? What difference does that make?
Well, I think like you just said, that's if you're really looking at your costs, it's a significant investment for someone purchasing one of these things. You're essentially halving that cost of that hardware, right? So or that operation, because you should be taking the cost of those batteries or a site. Every time you run it, it's just cost. A cycle is a cost.
Yeah.
So if it's $5, you're essentially going to be $2.50, which you should be factoring as a cost when you're pricing up the job. So as we all know, batteries aren't cheap, charging stations aren't cheap. So yeah. So it's a significant improvement, which is really good for us.
Awesome.
What else
And
we got, Danny?
I see the charging cases. Sorry, not the charging case. The carrying case for the M350 was finally upgraded. Gone are the days where you're carrying this massive behemoth of a case around. What's new about the new one?
Yeah, so I think they made a big deal on this one, which seems a bit funny. I think we've done a couple of Instagram posts on this one. So as you well know, there's two batteries on the M300 case. I'm sorry, two wheels on the M300 case, and now we've got four, but it's actually on a swivel, so it allows you almost like a carry-on luggage. We can spin it around, and it's actually about 30%, actually 31%, which is according to DJI's reduction. So anyone who's owned a 300 knows how broad and awkward that case is. So I think the 350 the 350 case is so much better. And I noticed there's no more foam holders for your props either, so they don't include them anymore.
There we go.
Yeah, so you essentially got your legs separated as you do with the 300. There's no holders, so they basically built the case where props fold in and you tuck it into the case and close the case. So yeah, it's probably not a bad thing, because I honestly didn't see the value of that either. So those props do quite well.
Props in the car anyway, so
Yeah, and it's not like you can change the props too easily in any case. So
they're the worst props to change. I'm telling you.
yeah, so that hasn't been improved other than some orange bits at the end of it. But anyway,
we like the little orange bits. They mean it's a new drone.
yeah. We'll I mean, I'm sure we'll cover off all these things in the field soon enough. So yeah, actually, so from a case perspective, so we've gone from one payload slot as well in the 300 case up to two. Which is pretty cool. Like, I know you carry your H20T and your P1. So rather than carrying another two hard cases, I'm sure you're happier having that one. So
much happier. There's a lot more room in the car then.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like you said, we can all laugh about it, but it all matters when you're going from site to site, having those battery cases and having a 300 case or a 350 in this case. That gives you something else. Plus your base station, your tripod, all of those things you still got to lug around.
It all adds up. I think Sean Werley joking about it recently on a job when I came down to Melbourne with you, that we had the M3E. We're carrying around one small handheld GPC case. Compared to the M300, we actually thought we were missing gear because it was such a small, workload essentially.
Well, we kept looking at each other, even though we had a checklist with us, as we always do, and yeah, we were like, this is just really, really weird, isn't it? But
Great.
I mean, we obviously know the benefits between the 350 and or 350 300 and the Mavic 3E. You know, you can got all these interchangeable payloads, but yeah, it's such a good experience when you can go to a job and only have that little case, right? So
It's amazing.
yeah,
You rock up, you get your job done, you leave.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
on that
If
note,
only if only we can change that camera on the M3, we'll be a lot happier, won't we?
hopefully DJI is listening and put that on our wish list for the next M600. Oh wait, we've got an M600 already.
Yeah. So I think the final one on the battery side of things was the as you well know, the cool down on the batteries when you know you do a hot swap and you take it out. I'm sure we all tend to put it straight into the charging station, even though we're not supposed to.
Middle of the summer,
We
100%.
just don't, we can't afford it to be sitting around to cool down. But
Mhm.
they've introduced the cooling fans, which will allow it to cool down much quicker.
Awesome. Thankfully, it's winter right now, but when summer hits, that will definitely be useful because we run quite a few missions where the batteries just do sit there cooling down.
The other cool one, Danny, as you know, with your hot swapping, you need to check your controller when it goes red, once you pull out the battery and wait till it goes back to white.
Yep.
Right. You
Mhm.
don't need to do that anymore because the indicator on the batteries are actually on the back of the battery and it'll actually light up when it's connected.
That's convenient. Instead of having
That's
to
pretty
stand
cool.
there with the remote telling you it's ready to go, you've got your
Yeah.
own lights. Awesome. Did not know
So
that.
yeah, because it was always annoying how the lights of the batteries on the side of the drone, on the back of the drone, on the back of the battery, I should say. So, I think that one is definitely worth noting because I think everyone who's doing hot swaps will much appreciate because it's so weird trying to put the controller on the ground, do a hot swap, and you can't see the controller unless you're actually facing it ground.
Yep.
So yeah, anyway,
It's an awesome little
that's
upgrade. Quality of life.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think they're pretty much the main features and across those three categories that we covered off. We'll definitely do many more episodes on the 350, and we'll obviously do some mapping missions as well. And let's do a comparison. I mean, end of the day, you're using the same payloads. So using your P1s, your H20s, your H20Ts, which is great. So all of that investment that you've spent on the 300 carries on. So you you can actually reuse the BS60 batteries as well. So none of that's wasted. Your WB37s will carry on. It's really is it worth the upgrade? And I think that's something you got to decide.
Yep.
So hope you enjoy the episode, and if you enjoyed, please follow us, subscribe to the channel, and comment and let us know what else you need to hear from us. Until next episode, Danny, thanks for your time.
Take it easy. See you.